Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode. This one is a bit of a longer one compared to last week, but it's mostly going to be involved around quests as I'm not capable of obviously making one quest per video, can't make them that exciting. So on screen you're just seeing the completion sort of cutscene of Defender of Varrock. Pretty good little quest. I'm excited to see where they go with I believe it's the Path of Gluffrey, I think is the new one that's coming out. This quest actually had some fairly decent rewards for something that I didn't view as that much of a challenge. It was only, just going and killing the armored zombies and stuff that presented any form of challenge. 15k smithing and hunters is pretty decent for a relatively easy quest. I will go back at one point and try and get the broken zombie axe because that'll be a good crush weapon just to have. And that brings us to this week's release of Varlamore, the new continent in Old School. Been there, loved the look of the place, thought it was very well done. Surprising that the update went through with little to no issues. That's always a good thing, especially when I noticed there was only going to be a half an hour downtime. Can't believe that actually seemed to go through. And other than a few hot fixes, I haven't noticed any big problems with the game. So this week, this episode, sorry, is just going to be revolving around getting the quests done because I noticed that there was 4 quests added with the new continent, which, considering I didn't think it was as big as I think a lot of people thought. That there was only 4 quests, and they were all relatively short. Obviously, the final one revealing the new sort of mini boss Barrows style thing. So we're going to start off here with Twilight's Promise. I went and stole the amulet. I like the little trickster edition that if they're being distracted, so I think that's what it is, distraction thieving or whatever it is. Thought that was pretty good. Then we moved on to finding the weapon cache for the other knight, that because you're just basically collecting people together to find out who was responsible for an attempted assassination, which was obviously the Defender of Varrock. None of these quests seem to present much challenge, little challenge, but not much. This was another quest companion follower quest, leading a drunk soldier to water, which we've all been there. So yeah, it certainly made me laugh when you're trying to regain the attention of the knight each time. This was, I believe, sort of an introduction to the Colosseum. Have no idea, not even attempted to look at it because I know that I'm not capable of doing probably content like this for a little while, especially as from what I can see, it's sort of equivalent to the Inferno, and that is so far from me being ready for that. So yeah, I'll probably give it a go just to see what it's about and maybe see if there's some of those lower tier rewards. I'm not quite sure what they will be, but I'll certainly take a bit more of a look once the wiki's sort of a bit more filled out, because this was all done on day of release, so there was no wiki help. You go on the wiki and it would change 1 minute to the next, and some of it was more helpful than others, but most of these quests were fairly self-explanatory when you're going through. One point I do want to point out about this cutscene, love the rune. I'm going to guess that's a scimitar. I love the model for that. Thought it was really cool. Like a different type of scimitar maybe, or some kind of other weapon that maybe they could release as Varlamore gets expanded or something like that. That would be really cool. So I'm going to skip ahead within this quest of all the stuff where you land at the new area, just to finish off the quest completely. So another 3k thieving XP, which, for me, don't really need. But, I can imagine it being kind of helpful because this is aimed at more mid-tier sort of areas. So from there, I moved on to the next sort of quest because it sort of leads you round into each different area for each different quest. So it sort of led me round to go to this one, which is located in the Hunters Guild. So I will be trying to do some of these sort of hunter contracts. But at first, we're going to get a first light done. So it sort of revolved around you would go off find their injured hunter, and then he needed a certain thing to heal him. Go and get all those things together, collect them, bring them back, heal him, then more sort of fetch elements. But some of these took longer than others. Finding the second plant took me a little while. I did have Gumption there helping me. And then learning sort of what we needed to do to catch the different thing, and the box trap sort of notification wasn't working, as you can see here. It just sort of stayed yellow rather than saying, oh yeah, like you've caught something. But 130 XP for each one of these catches, didn't think was bad. Don't think it's particularly great, but we'll carry on and do that. But I've actually caught 3 of them, which was actually kind of helpful because you need 2, and Gumption only caught 1, so it actually made it kind of helpful because I managed to pass that over to him. This part was probably the most annoying of all 4 quests. Trying to find this house, could not find it for the life of us. But we got it done eventually. Bring back everything, and you get 4k Hunter, some Construction and Herblore XP. So again, a nice mid-level reward, and then unlocking the Hunter's Rumours, which I understand there's a pet, which looks really cool, the little exotic bird that I'm sure lots of people are running around with as they've completed, their rumours, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to show off my new pet. So I've definitely got to get it. But this last quest, the riveting tale of etc etc, the weirdest quest ever, completely made no sense to me. Just a guy being upset with some local frogs that talk to him, and you're sort of, then you go and speak to them, and you try to get them a government and rebellions, and it was so strange, but very quick, very easy. Less than 10 minutes, get it done. But it was cool because it was right by the capybara, so they're cool to look at, and I'm sure a lot of Reddit said it. We want a capybara pet. Who doesn't want that? That would be fantastic. Like, running around with that. Who wants another bird? But 2k woodcut and XP and a new hardwood farming patch. So if you're still doing farming, great, because you can then, do another mahogany tree. So, who's going to complain at that? But, it was then the final quest was sort of the master tier quest, I think it is, but it was only a medium length. It wasn't a particularly long quest. There wasn't a lot to do in it, but Perilous Moons, and this was unlocking obviously the new Barrows style minigame. So you have to sort of start by killing a Nargua. Don't know how to say that, but that's what I'm going with. Outside of the area, it's sort of a dwarven city, another dwarven city, a bit like the giant's dwarf, red dwarf, whatever it is. Quest, and there's the sort of Dwarven Kingdom. There's another one of those, but the lead up to sort of learning about the minigame is just a lot of go and set this camp up, which then helps you when you're doing the minigame later on because it recharges your stamina, and then go and kill this, bring this back, and a bit of a boring sort of middle of the quest, and then it finally sort of all comes back around to you then fighting each of the mini bosses. Now, they're all ones you fight with melee, but one's weak to slash, one's weak to stab, and one's weak to crush. So the first one, Blood Moon, is weak to slash, so just use the whip. Obviously, in my max melee gear, protection prayers don't help because you take damage no matter what. You just saw there one of the specials, it sort of does that, but you have to kill the right Jaguar. As long as you stand on the spots, you take less damage, but you'll still take some damage, and then you can do damage to the boss, and I think it heals based on what it damages you, or something like that. So there's lots of people in the room, but the damage is your own, so you have to individually do 500 damage, but there is other people in the room. And then this is the other special attack for the Blood Moon, where it's just sort of like an avoid the blood trail, similar to what I assume is in some TOB. I'm sure that's something that's in TOB. But, it's nothing that I think is too difficult, and very good sort of mid-range sort of bossing. It's very similar to Barrows in that, but I do feel that the rewards from Barrows are still going to be more of a sought after thing. Sort of all the different rewards that you get from this, like the different armor types and everything like that. I just didn't, when I was looking at it, didn't view it as something that I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to be really good and people are going to really want that. But, it's new content. Maybe there'll be some elite strategy that involves the new range gear or the new mage gear. No one knows. It could turn out that it's really, really good in a specific situation that nobody's quite found out yet. So not going to hold my breath that it's going to be particularly useful, but, maybe one day try and bust out a few 100 KC of this to just try and get, the collection log slots and get the armor, just in case it's useful for something, or it's useful for a specific boss, or maybe even the expansion of Varlamore, because obviously this is only part 1, and there are there's one more part that's going to reveal the rest of the area, as well as obviously the higher level content. I would assume there's going to be something that's going to be a little bit better than this mini game. But as you can see here, you complete the first one and it sort of dumps you out somewhere close to the next sort of teleport for the next boss. So you just sort of have to run along. But if you're out of stamina, you can recharge that at the cooking stations that you've built during the quest. So it's not awful. It's just, I think it's a bit long-winded. I know barrows can be a bit long-winded, sort of running through the tunnels or whatever if you don't have the lock picks to get through. But I still think it takes less time to do a barrows run than it does to do this, and you're only killing 3 in this as opposed to 6 Barrows Brothers. So I don't know. I just always think the barrows is going to be a main focal thing within RuneScape. I can't see this being something that is going to take over in any way. But up next we have Blue Moon. Now this one's weak to Crush, and again it has 2 different special attacks, so it's nothing. They're all exactly the same, but the special attacks obviously differ. So there's lots of people in the room, but it doesn't change anything. This is some kind of spinning ice storms, hailstorms, something like that. And I think you have to go and light the braziers at each end of the room, which I didn't know. So that's why you can see me just sort of running around trying to dodge it, because I thought it was the same as the blood one. But it isn't. You have to go to each end of the room, light the braziers, and then I think it makes the special attack stop sooner. But it wasn't that tough. You don't take particularly large damage while you're stood on the right spot. I did unfortunately die once, not on Blue Moon but on Blood Moon, because I just ran around and tried to hit the boss and ignored all the special attacks and ended up just getting stacked out. I'm sure 90% of people did not die, but is what it is. I'm not going to get upset about it. But this is the next special attack. As you can see, this one went down a lot faster. I think just the bludgeon compared to the whip is a lot better. This one, it seemed to be you have to attack the frozen weapons. You have to attack whichever one is glowing for you. Everybody's will obviously be different. And then you have to sort of avoid the damage that's going to come out of the shape on the ground. Similar, I think, to like Wintertodt, and avoiding the ice on the ground when it gets spawned. But once that's done, obviously you pop back out. You go to the chosen spot, and then you just can hit the boss again. I think the bludgeon obviously proved itself there as a really good crush weapon. So really pleased that I did get that from Sire, and I'm going to try and complete it on my next Sire task and get a second one that I can pass over to probably Gumption at this point. But again, you spawn in the next area, which you're looking for the closest teleport to the final of the 3 moons, and that was. This is me just running along to the next one. I think you can catch the fish along that area, and they heal like 20 or 30. But obviously you can't take them outside of the area. So if you did come in and you're running out of food, that is something that you can do. And obviously then you're not using your own resources, which I thought was cool. I just didn't need to, because I think obviously the content is aimed at people that are a lower combat level than even where I'm at. And especially when you'd see people in there in Torva armor with a with a scythe. I don't think the content was for them. This special attack I did not understand for the life of me. I understand from watching other people do it. It spawns the shadows and you have to hit the right one, and then you can still attack the boss. I just took it as like sort of a tank test and just stood in the middle and tanked the damage. But yeah, then I had to use the Abyssal Dagger because this one's weak to stab. Same principle, stand on the spots, stab it, used all my specs because I didn't use them before this and I thought this was going to be the best one. I did like this one, although I wasn't very good at it. Similar to the Leviathan, where you're in the special in the safe area for sort of its final phase. You have to sort of stay behind the orb, and then you don't take huge damage. But I'm just really bad at this apparently. But I did like it as a concept. Thought it was cool, sort of a big shield to stay behind to not take the damage, but I'm just not very good at it. But we'll get it next time. Unfortunately, though, at the end of this, I didn't realize that this counted as a KC, that you could then loot the chest. So I haven't looted the chest. I still haven't looted the chest after this being a few days later. I still just refuse to do that. I don't know why. I just have no reason to go back to Varlamore other than maybe to do hunter contracts, but I'm going to explore it a little bit more. I have watched several videos of people doing various things in their various challenges or looking around at the shops and everything. I don't see there being anything urgent that I would need to go and get, or that it's going to be that important until maybe the part 2, because it's not aimed at sort of my level. But there are a lot of cool things. Like there is a shield shop or an armor shop that for mid-game Iron Man is going to change things forever. And because it sells an adamant square shield, and that took me forever to get for clue scrolls. So that just now being sold in a shop, although it loses a bit of the challenge or anything like that, it was still going to be really great for those earlier game Iron Men, rather than just struggling to find anything or get stuff for clue scrolls. They can just be like, oh yeah, I can just go and buy that at this new place. I don't think that should be the case for everything. I think especially with new areas, there is a danger of things being added that takes away from the grind or the game as a whole. But I don't think anything that's being offered in Varlamore is going to particularly impact the game as a whole. I don't think anything here is going to be overpowered or change the standard for anything. I have seen a few things about the rune crafting method that has now been sort of patched. Only sort of. There obviously has been people that you can still do running of essence and get crazy XP an hour, but I view that as probably going to be something that's changed again, in line with everywhere else, that you can't have essence ran to you, which I don't necessarily agree that that's damaging to the game as a whole, but I also understand that everything is designed to have a certain amount of XP per hour when they're making content, and then for people to go in and just say, oh, well, I'll just get people to run me stuff, it sort of defeats that point for Jagex from their side. So for now, if you really hate runecrafting that much, then I would advise going and trying to do some of that. I've seen crazy stuff like 450k per hour XP. Why not go for it? Try and get yourself a couple of levels maybe, and then you won't have to grind out on Zaya like I am currently. One level away from getting souls though, so stay tuned. I'll have souls soon. I've only got about 8k in the bank, but 140 odd k blood runes, so it'll be very good for that side of things, and there's not going to be any complaints from me on that. But as you can see, just finishing off the boss and coming here and speaking to whoever I need to speak to, I was a little bit confused because I thought, I've spoken to everyone, I've spoken to the thing, and it's I have to speak to it again. But there was no looting of the chest, so maybe I'll include that. But 40k Slayer and 5k in rune crafting, hunter and fishing. I did not think that was a bad reward for a mid-game quest. But for now, that is going to be it for this episode. Until next time.